Billy is a character that is the subject of much intrigue. Essentially the David Berkowitz of the Puppet Combo universe. He's a subject of much speculation. But perhaps the biggest theory of all surrounding Billy is whether or not he is indeed Billy Johnson from Babysitter Bloodbath. And it is such a popular theory, many people discuss it as if it is fact. And since I am a person that is very prone to getting into the weeds on these types of things, I decided to investigate this. And you may be surprised at my conclusion. First, some ground rules. First of all, there will be no speculative events being used to bridge together the gaps. I will be using details within the games themselves to make my determination. And in order to better interpret what I see in the games, I do have a variety of outside sources, and all of those sources are in the description. But let's begin. One piece of evidence I see suggesting that Billy Johnson and Billy are not the same person is the difference in hair color. Now, although we never see Billy's hair in Feed Me Billy, we do see it in the Feed Me Billy demake. Although this was not developed by Puppet Combo, it was endorsed and published by him on his Patreon page. And in this demake, we do see that Billy has brown hair. However, in Babysitter Bloodbath, Billy Johnson has blonde hair. Right away, you may think that this would serve as evidence that they are not the same person. However, there is a very common phenomenon of blonde children growing up to be adults with darker hair. And that stems from a type of melanin called eumelanin, which is what's responsible for how dark your hair is as you get older. As you get older, if you produce more, your hair will become darker. That's why you often see blonde children grow up to have brown hair. So with that being said, Billy and Billy Johnson could still potentially be the same person. But let's go deeper. In Feed Me Billy, there are two separate occasions where Billy is shown using his left hand to wield a weapon. And in the Puppet Combo wiki, they treat his left-handedness as if it's a fact. However, in Babysitter Bloodbath, it's hard to tell whether Billy Johnson is right or left-handed, except there are a couple of details. In Babysitter Bloodbath, when Sarah makes the bowl of cereal, the spoon is shown sticking out of the right side. However, that may just be because Sarah herself is right-handed. Although later on, as Sarah makes her way to the liquor cabinet, you can see Billy Johnson eating his cereal with his right hand. So there's no way that Billy and Billy Johnson can be the same person, because Billy is left-handed and Billy Johnson is right-handed. Or is he? For context sake, you have to remember it is heavily implied that Babysitter Bloodbath takes place in the 1970s, as it was originally an adaptation of John Carpenter's Halloween. And prior to today's day and age, left-handed people did not get the best of treatment. Cesare Lombroso, who is considered by many to be the father of criminology, would hold to a theory that left-handed people were primitive and abnormal, and therefore more disposed to crime. So is it possible that young Billy Johnson actually is left-handed and was forced to use his right? And bear in mind in Feed Me Billy, even though you would see Billy using his left hand, in first-person mode, Billy would use his right. Because all the portrayals of Billy as a left-handed person were hallucinations from Billy himself. Is it possible that the person he was hallucinating was his true self? His true left-handed self? Was his subconscious mind trying to tell him something? So at this point, you may think it's case closed and that the two are the same person. But there is one last piece of evidence we have to explore. But in order to do this, we have to examine Feed Me Billy's lesser-known sequel, Feed Me More Billy. In Feed Me More Billy, the game opens with Billy going to a nightclub. And in this nightclub, he gets to interact with others, and he's asked questions about himself. In most versions of the game that you see, he sees a woman in the corner of the room, and she asks him some questions like what he does for a living. Real estate, stockbroker, construction, all of which are implied to be lies. And when asked where he was from, he was given the options of California or Texas. Once again, both implied to be lies. And if you have watched or played this game, this is likely the path that you saw. And you may be asking yourself, what does this have to do with Babysitter Bloodbath? The reason why this has something to do with Babysitter Bloodbath is that there is actually a lesser-known second victim that you can pursue. There is a man dressed in white dancing in the middle of the club, and again, you engage in similar conversation. Except when he asks you where you're from, your options are Michigan and Washington. Again, both heavily implied to be lies. And this is what sealed the mystery for me, because Babysitter Bloodbath takes place in Monroe, Washington. And seeing as that is where young Billy Johnson is from, I believe this concludes our investigation. And bear in mind, Feed Me More Billy is still in the demo stage, so there's always a possibility that the canon can change. However, until that does happen, I have to conclude that Billy Johnson is not the protagonist in Feed Me Billy.